Oh, internet.
Hey.
Hey, there we go. Can everybody hear us? There we go. I see our little gifts dancing around.
Made it back.
Um, there we go. Okay. So where we left off, last thing I heard you were talking about Monster of the Week. It takes two six-sided dice.
Yes. And it works by either have like a hard fail, a medium pass, or a high pass, depending on a scale of 1 to 12.
Okay. And so it's is it literally just fighting a monster and that's it, or is there
Um,
more?
there's more to it. Like, instead of fighting a monster, you're investigating to find the monster. And then once you find the monster, you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that monster, depending on what it is. Like you go like, have you ever watched the show Supernatural?
I have not, but I'm aware of it.
Okay, so basically or have you watched Scooby Doo?
Yes, I have seen the Scooby Doo. I am
You are the Scooby Gang. You basically you get told about a mystery, and you go and you start investigating. You talk to the locals, you look for clues, you try to figure out what the hell is going on, and you do that through a series of different roles. You're like, oh, I want to talk to this person, and then you gotta try to like be diplomatic or you know intimidate them or whatever to get the truth of what's going on. And um, depending on what character you chose will depend on how good you are at said things.
mm-hmm.
Or you'd be like, I want to investigate the attic, and they'll be like, okay, what are you looking for? Like, I'm looking for signs of, I don't know, scratches, weird things, and then you would do an investigation roll. Or like my character sheet. Let me pull up because I still have it somewhere. Ah, so like the character I chose for Monster of the Week was the Monstrous, which basically means I get to be like a were animal, which I'm my one that I chose was going to be a werecat, so that like I could transform into a large um animal or a large like panther,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives me -1 charm, so I'm not very good at manipulating people. But it gives me +1 cool, which means that I get a +1 to my rolls to act under pressure or help out or use the help action. I have a +1 to sharp, which means if I want to investigate a mystery or read a bad situation. I have 0 to tough, so let's kick someone ass or protect somebody, but I have a +3 to weird, which is use magic. I'm not sure how that works, but it'll be interesting. Um,
That's really cool. And these are they essentially just like one-offs?
Essentially, I mean, you can play a campaign with them, but they're a lot easier to do one shots with, from what I think. But I think it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to try it. It's an entirely different system, so I don't know like a ton about it. I did pick. Uh, so when you pick monstrous, you have to pick a curse, and because I'm going with the were animal aspect, like you could be a vampire or whatever, but I chose to be an animal, so my curse is pure drive.
Okay.
and the emotion that I'm completely driven by is hunger. So, like, if there's something that looks slightly edible, I'm going to try to eat it. You know, like when you're just yelling at your animals to stop eating things they find on the floor, that's gonna be my character.
Stop eating things off the floor, Taryn.
It's like, oh, you find a severed hand. I slowly try to eat it. Don't eat that, but it looks tasty. So a lot of it is lighthearted and whatnot.
Well,
But
that's really cool. That's that. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun too.
it does, and I can't wait to actually get to try it. Um, it's going to be a lot of fun to actually get to play the game instead of running a game. So I'm really excited about that aspect.
I guess that kind of takes me jumping ahead a couple questions here. But for the campaign that you're currently running or in now, you are the DM, the dungeon master.
I am.
And so, why can you talk a little bit about that process? What sets obviously the difference between a dungeon master and just a regular player is you're kind of essentially, I guess, calling the shots more or less, right?
Your god. uh, but yeah, the DM is basically the god of the world. Um, if the DM says that something doesn't happen or can't happen, that's the end of it. It doesn't happen. Then there's nothing you can roll that'll make it happen. It's like you cannot enter the realm of the gods, but I rolled a natural 20. I don't care. You can't enter the realm of the gods.
And it's essentially kind of like what we were talking about earlier, that sandbox mentality. Even in games like GTA or Dark Souls or whatever, there's certain things you can't do. There's certain buildings or characters you can't interact with. The game isn't designed for you to do that. There, it has everything. Even D&D has its limits.
Yeah, like the I run my game probably different than a lot of people run their games. Um, I I play fast and loose with my own system for whatever makes more narrative sense or for the rule of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the rule of cool just makes the game so much better. It doesn't matter that it's impractical or, it shouldn't have happened. It just makes it that much more fun. Like, for example, there a while ago in the game when the party went to a bandit camp and they decided that they were going to attack these bandits, and um, one of the characters has a bag of tricks, which is you pull out a fuzzy object, you roll the dice, and when that fuzzy object lands on the ground, it turns into an animal. Well, this character rolled the fuzzy objects 3 times, got 2 giant badgers and a weasel, a regular sized weasel. And for the rule of cool, I let the badger have tremor sense, which it doesn't have, but it made it that much more fun to allow it to have tremor sense, which is basically it could feel the vibrations to the ground so it knew where the enemies were, because it does. She had one of them burrow into the ground and move through the ground to get behind this bad guy. And then the other badger ran into battle with the weasel on its head, like the weasel riding a war horse into battle, and the badger struck out and hit the guy. And she's like, "Can I have my weasel attack him as well?" And I'm like, "You know what? Fuck it, go for it." Because this guy only had 1 hit point left.
Right.
Like, you know what? Do it. And the weasel fucking hit. And mauled this guy's face for a total of 1 hit point, because it's the maximum amount of damage that this weasel could do with its strength, and it was enough to kill him. So just the thought of a weasel riding a badger into battle and jumping off the badger into this guy's face and killing him for 1 hit point was just too good to not let it happen.
That's
Because, I mean,
pretty
the guy
funny.
was basically dead on his feet anyway. I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it. I'll allow it. It can happen. It's amazing.
um,
But yeah, as a DM, you just it's there are some DMs that are a hard ass for the rules in which they have set up their world in, or that the book says this is what's allowed, this is what's allowed, and they'll die on that hill. They don't care how cool of a thing that you're trying to do is, they're like, no, this is how it is, deal with it. And then there's other ones that are like, you know what, fuck the rules, we're here to have fun. And then you get those that are somewhere in the happy middle. The rules are there to guide us, but not command us.
right.
And that's kind of like where I'd like to sit, is somewhere in the middle. The rules are necessary, but they're not an end all. So, yeah, uh, as the DM, I get to pick and choose where those rules are strongly applied and where they're a little bit more wibbly wobbly.
As a DM, how much work goes into a campaign, and like how much like do you have like when you start? Are you kind of like, okay, this is how it's gonna, obviously it's open ended, but this is the ending I want for the characters, or is it kind of like,
When
yeah, it's a very like light blueprint where nothing's really in ink, everything's kind of penciled in, and as you go along, you kind of like you're not making it up as you go along, but you're rewriting it as you go along.
um the answer to that is too damn much and not enough. When I first started writing this campaign last year, um, and I wrote out the campaign in in pieces, kind of like in school when they would make you write like a thought bubble or a thought chart or whatever.
Like a timeline, or what the hell were those things called? Yeah,
Like you have your main idea and you have these little wisps falling
yeah,
off of it.
yeah.
So I started kind of writing in that aspect. Whenever something would come to me, I'd be like, ooh, that's a thing that I want to happen. I don't know when or where or how, but that's a thing that I want to come across at some point. And then, like, things happen. And all of your well laid plans are thrown out the window, and you can either cry about it and throw a hissy fit, or you can adapt. So that's one thing that I learned as a DM, is that while it's great to have a general plan, never stick to it. You're not going to be able to unless you force a narrative that doesn't make sense, that isn't fun for everybody. So, like, I have a general idea of where I want the story to go. So, I half-ass wrote a beginning and I half-ass wrote an ending. Like, I know who the big bad is in the world. I know what you have to do to defeat this big bad in the world. How you get there, I have not even bothered to write because I never know where my players are going to go. Like, sometimes I strong arm them into areas that I want them to go.
I've
And
noticed that a little bit,
have you?
just a bit. Not really
Like,
strong arm, but kind of like, hey, you
you need
know,
to go this
you should
direction.
probably why not try this?
Like, I'll definitely give verbal cues to my players. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And if they say yes, then we see what happens. Um, But like the only time that I've really strong armed my players to go in a place that they weren't going to go to begin with was when I wanted them to go to Shadowfen to pick up their new party member, because that's where the party member was waiting to be uh, adapted.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to go straight to Rachdale and go to the sea and completely skip them. Like, well, I can always rewrite your character to meet them somewhere else, but this particular place makes more sense. So on the road, I put 2 ogres that were 3 times their level. If they have tried to go that way, they would have died.
Huh.
And the funniest damn thing happened is they decided that they needed to travel faster. I'm like, okay, so now I have even less time to figure out how to direct them to this place. And the character with the bag of tricks once again pulled out 3 fuzzy objects. They got a giant elk, great for traveling. They got a dire wolf, also pretty decent for traveling, and a regular sized badger, not great for travel, not very fast. So what they did is they jumped on the elk, they jumped on the dire wolf, and they strapped the badger to the goat. So I don't know how much you know about badgers,
Not
but
much.
badgers are extremely fierce, omnivore creatures that are opportunist hunters. A goat is a docile prey. So they tied a carnivorous, rabid creature to the back of a docile goat without talking to either one of them to tell them what was going on. Despite one of them being able, but 2 of them are able to talk to animals. Never occurred to them that they should explain the situation to the animals, to not try to kill each other, or to not panic that something that was snarling right next to their face to, not freak out.
Mm-hmm.
So the goat panics and takes off, running as fast as it can down the road. So they hop on the mounts and chase after him, like, so your goat's running towards 2 giant ogres, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
shit, turn left. I'm like, left is where the ogres are. And they're like, shit, I mean turn right. So the goat freaks out, basically spins out, falls to the ground with the badger on it. So they have to go and rescue the badger, or rescue the goat from the ogres without getting attacked by the ogres, and it was all bad. One of them ended up with a spear in their back, almost killing them when they got back on the mounts and rode off. They later turned that into a pretty cool dagger, but damn. I was just like, I need you guys to turn right. So there's ogres, and they're gonna murder you if you don't turn right. They
Now,
probably could have ran past them, but they didn't. They
now,
decided to turn.
do you prefer more being a DM or more being a player?
I've never really had too much of an opportunity to be a player. Um, I did one shot once, like 2 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. Time seemed to fly by. Like we played for like 3 hours, and it seemed like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it goes by. It goes by pretty quick. I noticed the two streams I've done, the one shot, and then 2 weeks ago, um, when I was introduced into the campaign, like the night flew by.
Yeah, like it never seems long enough.
Right.
Even though we play for like 3 to 4 hours, and it seems like it should be longer. But I'm like, guys, it's almost midnight. We gotta go to bed. But I would like to experience the game as a player. Um, I think that would be a lot of fun. I wanna play either my character that I have, or my monk character that I have. I think it would be a lot of fun. But at the same time, as the DM, I get to play all these characters all the time. If I want somebody to be in the campaign for a while, I just go, hey, there's this person, they want to join you because you have a like-minded mission, and then I get to play with that character. The only problem is that I've got to balance what my players are doing, all of them, where they only have to balance what they are doing with whatever enemies they're fighting and whatever NPCs they're interacting with, and then play a character on top of that. It's too much to handle, especially playing it online, because I have to, manage the music that's going on. I've got to move the tokens around, change the maps around, uh, decide how the enemies are going to fight. So I don't really get to play a character so much, but I would really like to be able to play a character at some point, but until I can find a party that I can join, I'm going to remain just being a DM.
And it seems, especially as a DM, someone that, I mean, you're not just. It's. I would assume it's different if like if we were all, in somebody's basement, you know, or it doesn't have to be a basement. It could be, family room or living room or whatever. Than it is online. Like you don't have to move tokens around in person. You don't have to worry about music. You don't. You're essentially doing 10 things at once. I think doing it online, because on top of all that, you stream it, so you're also running the stream and trying to keep one eye on chat as best you can, as well as, like you said, moving the tokens, doing the music, letting the party know what they can and can't do.
Yeah, while balancing audio.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. So I don't get to play um, as much RP as I'd like to bring to the table. Like sometimes I'll do a voice, sometimes that voice turns into another voice, or I'm just like, you know what, fuck you guys, I can't do a voice right now. Like my brain's it's too scattered around. But like I try to make it as immersive as possible. But sometimes I'm just like, there's just too much going on. I can't. But that's why, like in my Twitch channel, when I'm running D&D, I have the exclamation point D&D that says, "Hey, Taryn can't look at chat right now. She's being a DM. Um, if you have questions during the break or after stream or whatnot, you can ask either Discord or, if we have time, we'll get to them after the show. But you can ask the mods, which most of the players while we're playing are in chat. They're watching chat. They're making sure there's no trolls, or they're interacting with the people who come by, and sometimes I'll hop in there to see what's going on if my players are having like an RP moment between themselves, which that is something I've been pushing a lot, which thankfully has been kind of progressing naturally now. Because I'm like, you guys are all together and none of you know a damn thing about each other. Maybe you guys should talk. just a little bit. Should
Right.
figure out who each other are. Because I'm not going to tell you who the other people are. That's something you guys got to talk about and figure out how much you want them to know about you. So, whenever they're having an RP moment, I'll check chat. I'll make sure the audios are going good. I'll look up the next musical piece that I need to do, or I'll look at notes of, okay, I need to get them to this point for this map to do this thing. Will we even get there tonight? While they're talking and whatnot, I'm working behind the scenes trying to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do, or I'll get an idea and I'll write it on my whiteboard. I'm like, oh, they said this needs to be a thing. Like, for instance, last week or whatever, or last time we played, um, we brought up Shark Arena, which is on my my notes. So now I gotta figure out, like, if you guys visit um Leah's home, is there going to be like a shark arena where you can go and bet on sharks that fight? I don't know.
Yo.
So it's like something like, oh, hey, that's kind of neat. That'd be funny. I should add that to my list of things to do with the other 400 things on my list of things to do.
What do you think? I guess from your personal experience and your opinion in general, what draws someone into a campaign?
Um, I think it's a mix of the people who are already in the campaign, how the DM runs their game, and uh, the general setting. Like, I think it's a mix of all those things. Like, you gotta hit at least 2 out of the 3. Like, if you join a campaign and you hate the people you're playing with, you're not gonna have fun, and
Right.
you're not gonna stick around. Or if you join a campaign and you're just like, this DM is a fucking dick. I hate everything that they're doing in this world. This sucks. Even if you like the people and the general story that they're doing, but if it's not being told well, you're not gonna stick around. Or you might like the people and you might like the DM, but you find the story that you're participating in absolutely boring, you're not going to stick around. So, it's got to be a nice happy medium of all those things. Like, you have to get along with the people that you play with, because you're going to be spending hours on hours on hours on end with these people. And then you got to get along with the DM, because the DM's going to basically tell you what you can and cannot do at this game.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to at least be intrigued by the story, because you want to progress on it. It's the same thing when you're finding like a good book to read. The premise of the book might be amazing, but if the author's doing a shit job telling you about it, you're not going to read that book. Or if you're reading this book and you like the author and you like the premise, but you absolutely hate everything that's going on inside the book, you're not going to read it.
Right. No,
It's the
I
same
agree
thing.
with that, and I think from what I've seen in the again, I just came into the campaign at the end of your last stream, but then I did the one off. I think the
That was
stream
a lot of fun.
before that. I mean, that I had a blast. Like I was hooked. And I was nervous. I was nervous as shit. Um, for both of them. Um, but like I had so much fun, especially the one off. Um,
The pirate campaign.
yeah, and then just getting to be a part of this campaign. It's really just it's a lot of it's just a lot of fun, and I'm definitely hooked. And now I look forward to every Thursday.
Yes, which hopefully this Thursday will be fine, because it seems that my internet shortage is coming to an end. I'm actually being able to hear people in chat again. So it only messes up for a little while every once in a while. So hopefully we'll be back on track this Thursday.
And if anybody wants to check out Taryn, please make sure to give her a follow again every Thursday, 6:30 ish Eastern
6:30ish.
Standard Time. It's D&D. Uh, and we originally had we're gonna have a couple other members of the campaign, but they had things come up last minute, so they weren't able to make it. So, but like I said,
In true D&D fashion,
yes,
scheduling is a
but
nightmare.
that's okay.
It's not D&D, and scheduling
Life's
is
gonna
fun.
happen. Um, do you have a favorite D&D moment that a moment that stands out to you in your D&D career?
Oh man, there's been a lot of like really great moments with a lot of different characters. Like for a while there, every time my players would leave an area, they would set it on fire. And they set this nest where these rats were, because the rats were coming up through the sewers because some of, I think they were called the withered, no, the wretched. There was a group of wretched that had been traveling through a rip in time or a rip in space and terrorizing the rats. So the rats were running out of the sewers, which were terrorizing the people. So they took this bounty to go take care of the rats, and then they found the withered, or not the withered, the wretched. So to help clear out the rats, they burned the rats' nests. And I'm like, you threw a giant flask of oil on this, and then you set it on fire, and it's a lot of kindling, so now the tunnels are filling up with smoke. And they were going back, so as a joke, I put a bunch of smoke on the screen, and at that moment, one of my players' fire alarms in their house went off. So it's just screeching a fire alarm into the mics, as beep, beep, as the smoke's going through the screen. I'm like, oh my god, it's 4D gaming.
That's
Fucking
crazy.
hilarious. It was amazing. Like, that's probably one of my favorite moments. It's just those accidental moments that happen that just make it so much fun. I think there's a video of it somewhere. I'll send it to you later. Yeah, the mother starts yelling, "We didn't start the fire." It
Hello,
was
Modern.
so good. Like, that's probably one of my favorite moments that we've had in D&D was that moment.
Modern, do you have a favorite D&D moment, something that stands out to you?
What about you, Ryoko? I know you've only played like two sessions,
I
but is there like a moment that you enjoyed?
I really, I mean, everything. I mean, the main thing I've done is the one shot. Like, I've only been in the campaign for, I think I came in with the last like 15, 20 minutes. Um, so I mean, the one shot stands out, and I guess it had to be probably my intro, introducing my character, in the one shot, and then probably I think getting to being brand new to D&D and being the one to essentially deal the final blow to the monster,
Yeah.
was pretty cool too. That, and the other thing I remember um, from that campaign is I was on the ship I was stationed as the lookout, and I was rolling absolute garbage.
You
Um,
guys almost like beached the
yeah,
boat.
almost beached the boat. Modern says some explode, but when we all just obliterated the thing that jumped through the portal.
So right before they set all of the rat nests on fire, it took them a minute, but they finally did see the rip in a space where the wretched were coming out of. And as they were inspecting it, another wretched jumped through the portal, and they just all went, and they all fired their shit at once. And I think a couple of them got some criticals in there, and it just ripped the wretched to pieces. Like, as soon as it popped out, it was dead. And I was like, okay, that happened. So that was fun because they all saw it and they're like, I'm going to be. I would like to ready myself for if anything pops through. I'm like, well, I guess something's popping through now. And they just destroyed it, like, instantly.
That's great.
And
That's
then I
awesome.
think. And another thing about being a DM is that I can give my NPC characters powers that they may not necessarily supposed to possess. Like, my cleric that I was running with them so that they would have a healer with them um, didn't actually have a dispel spell, but she did that day so that they could actually close the portal without being like, how do we fucking do this? I don't know.
Oh, that says episode. I thought that said some
Explode.
explode. I need new glasses, I think. Some explode.
Well, it did. It did explode.
It did explode.
It did explode. It was annihilated on site.
What about
It was good.
the other thing I wanted to talk about the and I guess it's, as a DM and a as a player, what's the process of creating a player character and an NPC character? Because NPCs, you know, I guess this is maybe an exaggeration, but they're almost like the backbone of a campaign, kind of. Which is well, they mean maybe not the
That makes
backbone,
sense.
but they're definitely a big part of the game.
I mean, the NPCs are definitely an important part of it because without the NPCs, you just have a couple of people walking through a desolate world. Um, the NPCs are definitely the lifeblood. So, like, I mean, just imagine your everyday life now, especially that now that that we've all experienced like COVID, for example.
Hmm.
The NPCs of COVID were the essential workers. Without them, the world does not function.
No, I don't know how I
Like,
feel about being an NPC.
I mean, think about. I mean, I've been an NPC too in my own life. I mean, you got to think about it. If you work behind a counter, you're an NPC to somebody else's story.
No, that's a good point.
So,
No,
and like,
I get that.
but without you, that player's world and that person's life doesn't exist in the way that it does. You're extremely important in ways that you don't know. Like, if there were no tavern keepers, where would the players sleep? They'd sleep in the wild. They'd always have to do shifts. They would never get a full night's rest. They could be attacked. They don't have a place to set up to repair their armor. There's no blacksmiths unless they take up the craft themselves. Like, NPCs are vital to the survival of the players. So, NPCs can range from fully fleshed out characters that can become more important later in the story to just, I want to find this shop. Okay, you find a vendor. What's the vendor's name? Bob, I don't know. They're never going to exist after this conversation. You know, they can range, or they could be like Dan or Wilden or in Rosie, where they're reoccurring people that you stop by and check in on who may have more of a story there. Like
So
Dan's got a story. He started as a joke, but now he's got a story,
then
and
I
he's got a
guess
class.
I think I know the answer to this question, but it since we're talking about NPCs, and being that you create essentially all the NPCs in the universe in the campaign, do you have a favorite NPC?
um, my favorite NPC is probably who would be my favorite NPC? I really did like the huntress from Shadowfen. She was a lot of fun to play. Um, Rosie is definitely in my top three. I love Rosie. She's so sarcastic and she hates everything. She's a typical teenager. Um, and I actually really like Geminara a lot too. Uh, Dandan's fun, but Dandan is difficult to play only because after a while the voice gets difficult to maintain. But I mean, he's fun.
I think a Dan one shot would be
We've tried. It didn't. go over so well. We might try again. But
What would a Dan one shot be about?
well, we tried doing the Dan clan um one shot where we had Shelly, Roast, um, Ferdy, Seema, and Coffer, and they were going to rescue their little brother slash cousin, um, Bugdan, who had run away with his girlfriend, and they were worried about his safety because they hadn't heard from him in a while, and Dan had recently seen Bugdan in town, and were like, hey, I thought he was over here, what's going on? So they went to go search for him, but it was actually one of the player characters had used the hat of disguise to look like Dan, which, being that the hat of disguise changes how you look, but it only can vary a little bit depending on what you imagine and what you already looked like, so it's always a little bit off, especially if you're trying to disguise exact people. And Dan thought it was his brother. And so he wrote home to figure out was going on. So the family was going to find him, and they got about halfway there, and they found a lot of blood and like notes and stuff, but they hadn't quite finished that one shot, which we may get back to at some point, which would be nice. But we'll probably start it over because some things happened in that campaign that led to one player leaving the entire campaign. But
Oh,
such things happen. But there's still a one shot. Well, now it's a two shot out there to be completed about the Dan clan.
so that's the. So what about? I guess what is your process for say creating a player character then?
Um, for creating a player character, like an actual player character or the NPC.
No, I guess I guess like both because obviously you need to put thought into an NPC. I would think just as much thought as you need to put into a player character. Um, so yeah,
Because
I
like
guess
I've played both.
what
So for like an NPC, um, I have to figure out how important this NPC is going to be to the overall campaign. And a lot of the times, I will just have a name and an occupation. Like, Wilden started with just a name and an occupation. He was going to be the uh, enchanter of this establishment, the Embers and Ashes. And he's going to have a wife, and he's going to have a daughter that run it with him. Um, and there is a story there, and I knew that I wanted there to be a more in-depth story, and I want the players to enjoy that particular family, because whenever they need something, that's going to be the main shop that they go to. It's going to be the best place to find potions. It's going to be, if they want to enchant things, that's going to be the place where they go to find enchanted items. Like, this is their main hub of a store. And I knew that from the beginning. And I know where I want that story to go later, and they've just started to scratch the surface of that deeper story with the episode where they went to his home and they found that the stone that he was wearing was draining his life force essentially, and they removed it. But they know that he's in possession of another one that they can't access because it's in a safe that only he can open. So Yeah, I'm being very careful of how much I'm actually saying because you're a player and Modern's a player. But
Spoilers.
like I know where that story ends, and they're just starting to scratch the surface of it every time they go back to see him. They learn a little bit more about what's going on,
So
and then yeah,
I guess this is going to lead me into my next question. In regards, and a lot of my questions deal more with the DM side of things. So as the DM, I kind of got the impression when you and I were building my character Claire, that you maybe you don't know where my story ends, but you have an idea where modern story's gonna go. My story, Telly's, everybody's in the campaigns. Like what the end, maybe not the end game, but I guess what our arc or whatever the right verbiage is for where
arc.
what our deal is essentially.
Right, like for Modern's character, for example, I knew when we were going over what her character was about and where she's from and all this kind of things. I knew at some point I wanted her to find that village that she was taken from, which we did. I knew that I wanted her to run into the ghost of her mom and the ghost of her villagers, and that going and finding that gem in the underground elven ruins would free her mom from being stuck on this plane of existence. They haven't quite put together why that is, which further research could help figure that out. They have the notes. They just have to figure. They basically still have to uncrypt them. They haven't taken the time to do that, but eventually they'll figure out somebody who can, or they'll find the next piece of the puzzle to figure out why these things happened. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's like the uh, beginning of her arc. And then I gave her an Easter egg at the end of that arc, um, that she is yet to do anything else with. I don't think she's ever looked at it. She just put it in her pocket and said, "Okay, let's go." Yes, the locket. You put the locket in your pocket, and
Lock it in your pocket.
you haven't looked at it since. It, but that's a thing that may become more relevant later in the campaign because that's just a small arc of her character, which led me to think, oh, because of this, I can make this much bigger arc later on. So I wrote down notes while that was happening. Like, this would be fantastic if this happened. Holy shit. So when they find the right location, then that locket might actually provide some answers to a question that hasn't been asked yet. So like I'm always adding more arcs to a character if I feel like that character hasn't had a satisfying arc up to this point. So, and I don't want to run one character's arc until it's finished, you know?
Okay.
Because then everybody else is just kind of waiting around, waiting for their character to be important. So if I can blend two arcs together, or go, oh hey, here's a little teaser for your arc, and now we're gonna just leave that there. We'll put a pin in it. We'll be back to that one later. Now we're gonna go do this person's arc. Like when Raiji's character came in, they were very interested in these ruins. They were studying these ruins and trying to figure out, or they were looking for these ruins because they were looking for answers for their own arc. Whether they found them there or not, he hasn't said. But it was something that he was investigating, so it led into his personal quest, but didn't answer his own questions. So it's trying to weave multiple plots into one coherent story. So it's difficult and it works better sometimes than others. And then you also have characters who leave your campaign. Like I've had to rewrite how things are going to interact with each other multiple times, which is why I say that you have a beginning and an end, and everything in the middle is improv. Because I started the campaign with modern, Noru, Law, Raven, and I think there might have been somebody else. I think Deer started with us. But out of those people, only Modern and Deer are left. So that's 3 arcs that I had to rewrite out of existence. And then Fox's character came in, and then that character left for her to play a different character, or for them to play a different character, because they wanted to bring more balance to the actual overall party. So then I had to write an exit for that character as well. So
I guess it's
it's a lot of
almost
juggles.
it's kind of like a TV series almost. Like if an actor's like, hey, I'm gonna go do something else, you have to figure out what you're gonna do with that character. Do you now when you write them? I guess write them out of the campaign. Do you don't kill them off unless the player's like, yeah, just I want to not do this anymore. Just let's end me.
So I like to leave characters that leave or um, are done with the game. I like to leave their characters open ended in case they ever like, you know what, I want to give it another try, or hey, my schedule opened up, I can play now. Um, so their characters still exist in the world. They're just currently not available.
Would you
Like,
ever? I think I know the answer to this, but would you ever like let's just say you have a falling out with that person? Would you reintroduce that character as an NPC like down the road somewhere, or they're just not? They still exist. They're just not with us anymore.
possibly. There is definitely a possibility. Like, for example, um, like, don't get me wrong, me and Noru, we're still like best friends. He's still my little brother, but he's pretty much done with D&D. It wasn't his style of gaming, which is absolutely fine. It's not for everybody, but his character still exists in this world. It's his character Molthar is still laid up in a bed with his soul stuck in a painting.
Oh,
So, I mean, there's a possibility that his character might become important later, even though the player is no longer there to play their character.
that's really interesting. Huh? It's a lot like a TV show. Like the the the, the player leaves, but the character still exists, and then maybe 2, 3 years or weeks or seasons or whatever from now, the characters reintroduced as an NPC with somebody new playing them.
I mean, I don't think I would ever let anybody else play somebody
Well,
else's
but I
character.
mean, like by somebody else playing them, you, the DM, now is
Yeah,
essentially
I
playing
would
that character.
I would assume the role of that player. which sometimes I do in today's games. Like, for example, I know that this Thursday, one of my players already told me that they're not going to be able to make it to the session. So instead of writing off this week's session, I'll probably just NPC that player behind the scenes. Like, there won't be any RP with that character, but they won't just be like they don't exist anymore.
Right. They're just on like an autopilot.
Kind of like when Malthar's character no longer had a player to play them. I put them in a that's when their soul got snatched. Like originally, that painting was not even supposed to meant to leave that room. The painting was completely unimportant in every aspect, but they decided to take it with them anyway. I don't know why, but they did. So when my player decided that they were done, that painting suddenly became very important. Which is all about improvising with the situation that you're given. So now that painting has his soul stuck inside of it, and any injury that happens to that painting also happens to the that character. All that shit was made up on the fly. Because I had to figure out why doesn't this character have a player anymore? Because his soul got snatched by a painting. That's why. Boom. Answers.
What I want to do now is I want to take a quick break. Get a quick drink, stretch my legs. I encourage everybody else to do the same. Get a quick nom nom or whatever, and then when we get back, we'll talk more D&D and discuss dice and other accessories that are essential to D&D. All right, we will be RB, and I'm gonna. Oh, we can turn that up a little bit. Do 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 do.
Did you mute our mics? You did not mute our mics.
Hang on, I gotta put my headphones back on. I'm back.
Aw.
Listen, you have no idea. Every other day of the week is awful. That's not Thursdays. I was so excited for last Thursday. I got back from driving all day. I got everything unpacked. I ate a little something, and then I was like, okay, let's pick out our dice for tonight. So I don't think I did. I usually do like a little dice tourney to see what dice I'm gonna use, and then I'll have like
Okay,
back.
Laura Bailey.
What's that?
Said okay, Laura Bailey.
And then I'll have like backup dice just in case like those dice try and screw me. So I finish all that, and then I look at Discord. I'm like, oh, there's a message from Taryn in her Discord about D&D. So I'm like, yeah, let's go see what's up. This was at like 6 o'clock maybe, and I look at it. I'm like, oh, there's no D&D tonight.
My net was being atrocious. Like, this conversation would be impossible. Like, I've been testing it for the past week, like jumping into multiple chats over and over and watching streams in Discord and all that kind of stuff. And I watched some shows with Modern, and I'm just like, I don't know what she's saying. It was so bad. It's like the video was fine, but the audio would buffer.
I've had that.
It was so bad. It was like, I'm like, yeah, I can't play a game of words with this.
Huh.
Especially not having like 6 people try to talk to me or keep up with the story while the internet is audio is buffering. I'm like, I don't think D&D's happening tonight.
No, that makes it really hard.
But it seems to be okay now. Like, I have the stream running, and I've got Discord running, and I have YouTube up in the background. It's not playing, but it's up in the background. Like, I'm pulling in a lot of internet usage, and it seems to be okay. It still messes up every once in a while, but it's only for like 5 seconds, and then it's back to where it should be versus being fucked up for 3 hours at a time.
Do you have Spectrum or Dumbcast?
I have Xfinity.
Xfinity? Say
Yeah.
Xfinity and Comcast.
Yes, I called them, and I got some guy named quote-unquote Patrick telling me that there was a internet outage in my area, and I'm like, if there's an internet outage, how am I using the internet right now?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
But basically it's because we pay like a premium price for internet. Like, we pay a lot for internet that the internet that was available in our area we were getting. And it was shit, but it was something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I pay bare minimum for like high speed internet. My old place, we paid a bit more for internet, and I told my roommate at the time, I was like, "Listen, that's fine, but I'm not paying for cable, like, because neither one of us." Yeah, I was like, neither one of us streams anymore, and like if we want TV, I can access my parents' Netflix and Xfinity account. So like after a certain date, like I'm not paying for TV. We don't need it. I still don't. I just have internet. I mean, I have Netflix. I have Xfinity through my parents. I have excuse
YouTube.
me. I have YouTube. I have Disney Plus through a really cool friend.
You're welcome.
Fucking love it. Though right now, real quick, the sidebar. There's a really, really cool documentary series on Netflix called High Score, and it's just about it's kind of the history of video games, but it's not like the complete history of video games. It's like different stories in video games. Like the episode I'm on now is like essentially the history of fighting games. There was one on really early role playing games, like the text ones that you would type on the computer. That was a really cool one. Um, but yeah, so if you guys get a chance and you have Netflix, check that out. And if you have Disney Plus, watch everything because everything on there is amazing. Except Spider Man. Spider Man's not on there.
It's because it's still owned by Fox. It's a multi-parented franchise.
It's really sad because the two new Spider Man movies are the best ones since the original.
Or not Fox, maybe it's Universal.
Yeah,
Whichever one
Universal. Universal, I think, has had the rights to Spider Man. Then they gave them up, and then they're like, nope, just kidding, we're going to keep them. And then Disney's like, but wait. So God knows what'll happen to Spider-Man. Anyway, Modern, since you're in chat, I wanted to ask you, what got you into D&D?
It's DnD. D&D Beyond. It's D&D.
Is that the theme song?
It's a song written by Sam Riegel from Critical Role to advertise their sponsors for Campaign 2. And it's catchy and it's great. He wrote it as a joke and it became their actual theme song.
That's funny. While Modern answers that question, I will ask my next question. Let's talk about something I absolutely love and am addicted to. Let's talk about dice.
Yes.
Why? So I use real dice when we do the campaign because I figured I spend all this money on dice, might as well use them. And plus, I think it's more fun and more satisfying to roll the dice than just to click a button. I also trust, the randomness a little bit better. I think anything electronic, whether it's on the computer or at the casino or on a video game, I think there's always an algorithm. I'm wrong, I know that, because I think there's an algorithm to Tetris and there isn't. But it's just more fun to actually roll a dice.
I mean, RNGesus cares not for the format in which they appear. So, I have lots of dice. I have lots and lots and lots and lots of dice, and I love them and I collect them, and I think they're pretty. But when I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons Online, I stick mostly to apps and whatnot like D&D Beyond because it makes the math easy because it does the math for you. Which, as a DM, makes my life infinitely easier, especially when I'm juggling multiple characters and mobs at once. So I can just be like, okay, these are what their hit points are. Let me write this macro so that I can just press a button and it goes. So that I don't have to be like, okay, I'm using a bow attack on this character, so I need these, and this one has a different bow, so I need these dice, and this person over here is going to attack, so I need these dice, and I don't just have a whole bunch of crap going on my desk, and I have to keep up with it on the piece of paper, or use my iPod to do math. I can just be like, boop, oh, it misses, or boop, oh, it hits, and this is the damage that it does. So it's an easier tool as a DM to have something you can just hit a button and it'll tell me whether this attack hits from this mob, and I can just go bleep 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 and hit the buttons and be like, okay, 3 of the mobs misses and 5 of them hit, and this is what they did when they hit you.
What was that sound they make? Real quick. You
What
said,
when I hit the button?
yeah. You said it was blip 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 blip.
Bleep. Bleep 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 bleep. Let's see. Modern has given us our answer.
Yes, Modern says, I've always been a fan of fantasy stuff. I grew up watching movies like Underworld, Lord of the Rings, and other stuff, and I absolutely love the idea of being in one of those worlds, to be a hero or villain, to do things I'd never be able to actually do. And the fact I have uncles who are total nerds, play D&D, watch those movies, play WoW, and all that, and even draw D&D, characters. Also, my mom's a nerd, too, but doesn't play the games or draw. That's really
So
awesome.
now you can live out your fantasy of being a fruit thief and leaving gifts for all the boys and girls wherever you go.
Modern fruit thief.
Like I almost want your character to subclass in the bard. I don't know why, but I do. So that you can add like extra charm onto everything and you could like because like a big misconception about bards is that they seduce everything. And that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily that they're seducing things, it's that they're so charming that people fall for them. So, can you imagine Melora being like, not even having to use stealth to steal things, just be like, walk up to somebody and be like, hi. And just be like so charming that you just like steal things out of people's pockets while they're talking to you. And they're like, this is fine. You can have whatever you want. So, like, I don't know. The concept of that intrigues me a lot.
um,
You also get access to spells if you do that. So,
ooh, there you go, Modern. Talking more about like dice and other accessories. What I'm finding
we
now,
won't talk about this.
what I'm finding now is there's like so many different types of dice. When I was home last weekend, the week before, a friend of mine I hung out with came over for a little bit to our other friend's house, and we were talking about D&D. So when he got home that night, he sent me probably no less than 15 Snapchats of his entire like D&D collection. There was all these like awesome dice. They were like double 6-sided die. Obviously the 100-sided die, which you've shown me, Tairn. But then it gets even more interesting. He had weather dice, which I found online. I actually have it on my wish list, and then I moved it actually to my Christmas wish list because I definitely want that because I think those are really really cool. Not that I would ever use them for anything. I just think they'd be cool to have on display. And then there was another dice I found that's like body. This is gonna sound really dirty, but it's not. Body parts,
Okay.
if you know what I mean. Like, I guess like if you're attacking somebody, like, oh, I'm gonna, attack them, and you'd roll the die, and it would be like, oh, it's their left leg, and so that's the part of the body that you hit. Let me see if I can't
Okay.
find it. I'll post it
Okay,
in.
so like you roll like a 6-sided die and it's got like a head, an arm, chest on it.
It wasn't a 6-sided. It's not a 6-sided die. Um,
Cause I'll be honest, the first time you said body part dice, you know what I mean. I immediately thought you had penis dice.
yes, I have penis dice. I'm writing that down because that's fucking hilarious. 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 40. We'll call it 43 seconds.
Do you just want it
Penis
clipped?
dice. Yeah, let's clip the penis dice.
Why don't I have a clipping feature on my
You might have to refresh. I've had that happen to me. I don't have it either.
modern? Can you clip it?
D&D, God help me.
Awesome.
I got it. Okay, we got the penis dice is on lockdown. Oh,
Post this in my Discord if you need to.
there's also this dice. It's the 7 virtues and 7 sins.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is really cool. There, I'll post that one in chat for you guys to check out. But the penis dice. Oh, the penis dice. And then I also found on Etsy Dice Jail. That's weather dice. Critical location body hit dice.
Okay.
AKA the penis dice. So I'll post. I'll throw that up in chat too. I really like the 7 virtues and 7 deadly sins. That's really unique. I don't know what the hell you would ever use that for. One dice included, 28 millimeters.
Full body, left foot, right arm, left leg, chest.
So it's a 12-sided dice. No mention of the penis or.
Yeah, that's on the other side.
Oh, it is. Oh, it does. You know what? It does.
Side you can't see.
Yeah, it
Because
does
they're
say.
classy.
So if you scroll down, it says the 12 sides are labeled
Peen.
head,
P-E-N.
chest, peen, right arm, left arm, right hand, booty. So yeah, it's we put penis in the title and I'm sad. The peen. The peen dice. We'll let you put dong or danger.
Which is weird like that. You gotta get creative with your spellings on some of those titles.
Just spell it backwards. It's the penis dice. So yeah, the penis dice, I guess, is the penis dice is also a choking hazard. So don't put it in your mouth.
All right, let's move away from penis dice.
But yeah, those. So there's all kinds of different dice that I wasn't even aware of, and I'm absolutely in love with them. But what other accessories do you think are important? Snip. For playing D&D.
It's always a good idea to have a player's handbook. Basically, that's gonna answer a lot of your questions first and foremost before you even approach your DM on if you can or cannot do something. It gives you the basic works of how the general world of D&D exist, how things function. It tells you what your player class is like. It tells you what your race is like. It tells you, um, you know, how far you can jump with, your strength and whatnot. Actually, let me grab it and I'll.
I actually have it. I have it right here. The D&D Player's Handbook. Yeah, I grabbed. I think just about all of my D&D stuff before stream.
There we go. It was just out of headphone reach. So, it's a great little guide, and you can find a PDF file of this online as well. But it'll tell you a lot about your backgrounds and what those backgrounds are like. It has personality traits, flaws, and whatnot. If you ever wanna if you play like a druid or any character that can perform polymorph, it'll tell you the challenge rating of those particular characters and if you can or cannot turn into them at your current level. Uh, it tells you the effects of things like holy water, uh, what's in a climber's kit and how to use it, uh, just all different kinds of things that are good to know. Like dexterity, what is it good for? What would I need this for? How do I apply dexterity to my character? Or what's the effects of a long rest? What is an ability check?
Mm-hmm.
How do I heal myself? What are spells that my character can use and what do they do? Like, if you're not using an online tool such as D&D Beyond where you can, click on all these things and just read about it there, then having the handbook is going to be essential for being able to play your character effectively. Like, having a character sheet is great, but if your character sheet says, you know, you have the spell Raise Dead, well, what the fuck does that do?
Right,
You gotta know what it does.
and that's the nice thing with D&D Beyond, especially in today's climate where people can't play D&D like it was originally meant to be, face to face. It has to be online. So instead of, if they don't have the book, they have the site, and the site's really good. I love the site. Like, I use that 5 or 6 times during the campaign, during the stream.
I mean, it's an amazing tool that they've come out with because it's very easy to use. You don't have to pay for things on it to use it. All of the super basic information is available to you for free. And then they have this feature that they've added in recently that if you're running a campaign, you can make a campaign setting, and anything that the DM owns, they can share with their players. So, like, I own a good number of the books on that site, and I'm like, okay, I want to make it so where you guys can have this particular artifact, but this artifact's only available in the Ravnica books. Well, I own that book, so I can give it to you guys, and you don't have to pay $1.99 to have access to this artifact. I can just be like, hey, I'm gonna put this on your character. Now you have it. So that's an amazing feature that they've added to it as well. Or even like spells or different races, different backgrounds and whatnot, as long as I make a blank character sheet for you and let you guys fill it in like you did with the one shot. Like Tabaxi cost $1.99 to unlock.
Hey,
Well,
Tabaxi.
I have the Tabaxi, so I made a blank character sheet for you, and I'm like, here, pick up this character, and now you can play it without having to pay $1.99 to have access to it.
That's pretty cool.
So that was really cool. It's a great tool, especially when you're playing online. Even if you were playing in person, if you had the like an iPod or a laptop or something to keep up with your character stuff, it's great to have there too. Like you can do pencil and paper, no problem. That's traditional and whatnot. But if you're disorganized or
What are you
you
trying
have
to say?
like I have a hard time reading the paper ones because it's kind of all over the place.
Right.
But everything you need is right up front, easy to find, easy to access. It has dice rollers on your actual skills now, so if you don't have dice or your dice are pissing you off or whatnot, or you don't have enough dice to perform an action like I don't know, a level 9 fireball, and you gotta roll like 12 dice that you only have 2 of, instead of rolling those 2 dice 6 times, and adding it up in your head, you can just be like, yeah, okay, roll at this level, rolls it for you, does the math, will automatically do advantage or disadvantage if needed. It's amazing. I
Oh,
love
and I
D&D
think
Beyond so much.
it's really great for a novice like me that doesn't. When you're like, oh, go ahead and roll for that, I'm like, well, what die am I rolling? Am I rolling 2 6-sided dice? Am I rolling a d20? So that it's really helpful, I think, for not only people that might not have dice or that are playing online, but for people that don't know what the hell they're doing, like
Yeah,
me.
like it's definitely made D&D, I would say, more accessible to the new player or the inexperienced player, so that everything is laid out as simply as possible, because I think that's something that keeps a lot of people from playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like they love the concept of Dungeons and Dragons, but they get intimidated by how much goes into it. Like, oh, I have to write this character sheet. I've got to write, I have to keep up with how these things work. And D&D Beyond's like, yeah, you can, or here, here's an easy how-to step-by-step guide on how to do this, and we're going to make it easy to play so that you can spend less time doing math and more time playing the game.
Because math sucks. Let's be honest.
I mean, math doesn't suck, it's just math can get in the way of good story.
I agree with that. Definitely, I don't like math whatsoever. A couple other accessories I want to get your thoughts on because I have them. Obviously, having a notebook. I got a fancy notebook, and then from Walmart, I got like a pencil case to keep all my like pencils and other D&D like writing utensils all together. But dice mats and dice trays. What do you think about like those that kind of contain your dice when you roll them?
If you're using physical dice, a dice tray is definitely going to be helpful. Because any dice that falls on the floor is considered a dead dice.
Oh wow,
Doesn't
I
matter.
didn't know that.
It doesn't matter what you rolled. It has to be rolled again. So if it rolls off the table and it's 20, tough luck. Rolled again. It's got to stay on the table to be considered a live die. Um, and I mean, sometimes you don't have a lot of room, and you're just sitting there like, I want to roll this dice, but I want to give it like a good roll, but I can't because it'll fly off my table. So having a dice tray is always always a nice idea, especially using actual dice.
So I guess that being said, then, so if you use a dice tray or a dice mat and it rolls off the mat, stays on the table, or but you roll it too hard and it hops out of the tray but stays on the table. Are those dead dice, or are they still live?
As long as it stays on the table, it's fine. If it rolls on the floor, it doesn't count.
Okay. What do you think
Which is
about? I'm
which
sorry.
is
Go ahead.
true. That's a true fact for like most games. Like if you're playing Yahtzee and like 3 of your dice roll off, but they're what you need, tough shit. It's got to stay on the table.
Um, what do you think about? I also have a. I think it's really handy because I think it adds to the randomness of it, and it makes for a better roll. I think the dice cup, which I don't think I have my dice cup in here, believe it or not.
Dice cups are neat. They're not necessary, but they are neat. Like if you have a lot of dice that need to be rolled and you have small hands, dice cup, great. If it's just one die that you're trying to roll, a lot of players like to feel the dice in their hands. They feel like they have more control over over their destiny.
Okay.
But it's not necessary. But like if you're like I said, if you're doing like a high level fireball or something, and you've got like 15, 20 dice that you got to roll at once, yeah, you get you a cup. It's gonna make your life easier.
And the one thing I think are really cool, I know you seem, just from the impression you gave me, you don't like them or don't like to use them. Dice towers.
Yeah, dice towers are neat. Um, I personally think that they're just loud. I mean, it. Have you? You know what a rain stick is, right?
A what stick?
A rain stick.
No.
Oh, it's a piece of cactus that had the spikes basically nailed back into it, and they put rice in it, and you flip it upside down. It's like, and it sounds like rain,
Okay.
and it goes on for like ever. Like that's how I feel about dice towers. It's just like you put a bunch of plastic or metal objects in it, and you let it fall down, and it's just like until it's down to the bottom. I'm just like, it's neat. So a lot of them look really nice. They're unnecessarily loud. Especially if you get one that's not padded. If it's padded, it's not so bad because
Yeah, I
then it's
haven't been
kind of
able
like
to
a thunk.
find one that's padded yet.
Yeah, because there's like thunk, 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 thunk. If not, then it's you're just throwing objects down the stairs, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
which
mean
is
some of them
which is
are really
fine.
nice.
Like it's better to have like a dice tower if you're at a table with other people and you're in an open area. But if you're playing online, the only thing anybody's going to hear is the sound of you throwing objects in your room. And it's going to be obnoxious and loud. That's what it's like. Oh, you just constantly would hear this when it goes off. Every time that it goes off, you're just gonna hear that for like 30 seconds as the dice find their way down to the bottom.
That's crazy. Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
like it's great, but it doesn't work when you're using a microphone.
I think it's more. I think they're nice for aesthetics. That's my whole thing is I'm not going to use it for. I mean, I play with my dice like I'm a 12-year-old. Like I'm
Yeah, so if you're
38
just
and
sitting
these.
there throwing a single die down the tower while you're doing stuff, it's just like it's too much when your mic picks up like everything,
Right.
you know?
Like I did a whole God, what's my 6-sided die because I probably have more 6-sided die than anything.
I know.
Um,
That's like your favorite
that
die.
is my favorite. I do love 6-sided dice. I think and then that's actually a good segue because I know you said your favorite die is the 20-sided die. Um,
Yes.
but I
It's
think
just so
they are, and I think they're probably my second favorite. But I don't know, like there's just something because you can do so many different things with a 6-sided die. You can they can be numbered. They can have pibs, which is apparently what the dots are called. But the dots can be different colors. They can be different shapes. You and I think I sent you one or you sent it to me. They're actually skulls, little skulls instead of
yes,
pibs.
a
Yeah,
picture of the skulls.
those are like that's really cool. I've seen like Roman numeral ones.
That sounds like a
Um,
pain in the ass to read.
right, but I mean it's still like they then I think the one of the ones I sent you has I think one of the original dice companies or card company logos bicycle like right
Yeah.
on the one side of it. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like I think all dice are beautiful. in their own way.
I'll have to find some of my more interesting six-sided dice that I have, because I have one that has a moose instead of a one. I have one that has like a lobster.
That's really cool.
My favorite one is the one that has a dragon. It's from Dragon Con, like 2003 or something.
Hmm.
That's probably my favorite six-sided die that I have. It's the one with the Dragon Con logo.
And then I have another die. I have it in my hand now.
Yeah, do it modern. Get a fuck and a yeet.
You by the fucking eat it. Um, it's a
I want
six-sided
those
die
too.
that I must have got at Wizard World, but they're all like negative numbers. Except there's no -1 because where the -1 would be is like the company's logo. So like that's really
Hmm.
weird but cool. I completely forgot I even had this until a week ago when I was going through shit in my closet at my parents'.
I used to have some dice that were called battle dice. It's from like the early 90s, and I never figured out how to play the game because all I had were the dice and no instructions. I'm like, I don't fucking know what to do with this, but I have the dice, yay!
Yeah, well, I was really blown away. Well, not blown away. I was really fascinated by my friend and you when you guys were both like, oh, there's all these different crazy dice. Like on my wish list, I have like there's 20-sided die with 20-sided die in them. I have six-sided die with six-sided die in them.
Yeah, I
Um,
used to have some of the six-sided ones forever ago.
and then I just think then these are inflatable, jumbo inflatable dice. That's cool. Uh, and then there's like three-sided die. I wouldn't mind. I want to get. I definitely want to get like one of those. Like, cause those look pretty cool. The D3,
Yeah.
and then like there's I don't know. There's just so many weird sets.
Like, I used to own these. Watch out, here comes a giant link coming into chat. I used to own those. Those were the ones that I was telling Zombie about. Which these are astrology dice. And
Oh
you basically
yeah.
use these instead of tarot cards. So those were neat.
Oh, those are going on my wish list.
Of course they
They're
are.
they're oh my god, they're beautiful.
They are really pretty. I had
Oh
that
wow.
exact set forever ago.
And these are so. What would you like? What would you use these dice for?
For astrology?
But like what's my like? Well, yeah, but I mean, you're like, oh, you know what? Hey guys, astrology! I did it. I rolled
um,
a fucking 2 and a half a person and a crescent moon.
so basically, what these are for are you would use them. It comes with a little booklet that explains to you what each one of these mean. You roll the dice, and you can get like 1 through 12 on one die. Um, one of the astrological signs like Gemini, Scorpio, Libra, etc. on another one, and then you'd get a planetary symbol on the last one, whether it be Jupiter or Mercury, Mars, etc.
That's so fucking
And
cool.
then you would read the die to determine what your horoscope or whatever for the day was, or
Oh, that's neat.
what.
Well,
Like, you'd ask a question, roll the dice, and then it would give you an answer, just like you would you'd ask tarot cards. I found another set of dice for you, Ryoko. You'll love everything about these.
I'm really excited because I love
Yeah.
dice.
You like six-sided dice, you like wooden dice, these have runes
Ooh,
inscribed on them.
that's pretty awesome. Yes.
And you can actually customize them.
Oh wow, yeah. Throw that link up in chat.
You can choose from cedar, pine, walnut, oak, or birch.
That's awesome.
So
I'm
there's
excited.
some
Yeah.
interesting runic dice for you.
Yeah, once you throw that up in chat, I will look at those and probably add them to the wish list. I actually added those astrology dice right to my cart.
The other link is in chat, by the
Oh,
way.
is it? Can you send it again? For whatever reason, sometimes it, I can't. I'm not going to go on a tangent about it, but for sometimes I don't always see chat. That's why I always have it up both on the computer and the phone.
I'll
But
just send it to you in a DM.
yeah, DM me that.
Bloop.
Sliding up into my DMs. Modern, do you have a favorite? If you're still here, do you have a favorite? Oh my god, those are really cool looking.
Told you.
Holy crap! Do you have a favorite dice or dice set?
Now I'm looking at dice. God damn it. Why do we always end up here?
It's not my fault.
Now
I
I'm
only
just looking up,
own
like,
one dice set. Let
random.
me find the link to the one I want to buy. Yeah, go ahead and throw it up there. Is it the body part dice set?
I found a dice set of, it's basically an 8-ball. No way, I don't
Stop
know.
it!
Can't be
Oh
certain.
my
Ask
god,
again.
this is cool. Hang on. I gotta throw this one up in chat. That's oh my god. Nope, that's the
Ooh, those are
fortune
pretty.
telling dice. That's funny. You betcha. Oh my god, they're only like three. They're only like $3.50. Oh, but they're not. They don't qualify for. They're not Amazon Prime. Damn it.
I'm sure you could find one that's just like it for on Amazon Prime.
That's
There's
funny.
always something somewhere selling the same thing.
In your dreams, cannot be certain. That's funny. There's dice for everything. Modern's looking for the dice set that they want, so we're gonna throw
Is
that
it
up in
the
chat.
is it the Yeet?
Actually, Taryn, can you do me a favor? Can you allow Modern to post a link?
Once they find it, yes, because it only lasts for 60 seconds.
Yeah, so Modern, just let us know when you find it. That way you don't accidentally get timed out.
I also really want these dice, but they're so expensive.
That's the thing that there's, and I think some of the dice are just they're so cool and like unique. Oh yeah, I saw. Oh my god, $87.
They're Yeah, they're like
What are
they're
they?
stupid expensive.
My friend back home had. They were like tokens. They were similar to this, but oh my god, that's a really unique. Is that a 20-sided die in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a full set of dice, but like they're so expensive. Like, why? Why do you have to be like $90? Like, come
Yeah,
on.
that's. I'm not even gonna put that on my wish list, as cool as they are, because there's this set right below it that is only $15.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
Like,
they don't have that. They don't have that bitchin' 20-sided die. Though,
I really
oh, look at
want to make
this.
my own dice.
So yeah, that's the next thing I wanted to ask you. You've talked about that. Have you? I have two links. All right, let's permit modern. Boom. You got 60 seconds, modern. Make it count.
It still didn't let her post it.
What the hell?
Do, do, do. Diddle do, do, do.
Hermit, modern, ODST. What the hell? That's weird. I don't know why it's I don't know why it's doing that. I'm really sad.
I'm trying to fix it.
Alright. So while Tairn does that, I'm actually gonna throw.
Okay, try it now. You should be able to post it now.
Yeah, post it. Ryoko loves dice.
Hey.
Hey. Yeet.
I turned off the link mod.
Oh my god. Now,
Yeah,
would you say
these are
this
cool.
is this a dark white?
It's a rainbow. It's a prism. It's clear.
I was just trying to make a joke that dark white's not a
Now,
thing.
is this for a whole set? It is for a whole set. Yeet and fuck.
So what is fuck? Is fuck like the 1?
Yeah.
And yeet is the 20. That's really, oh my god, look at them.
I would be so scared to play with these because they're glass.
Oh, are they?
They're glass.
I didn't even
That's
see
why they're
that.
so expensive.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's not printed, it's engraved. So
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
you can't play with that. I wouldn't be able to
so
own a set like that.
scared.
I don't know if
So
you've
they're
noticed what I do with my dice, but
iconic glass gemstone dice. Each dice is well weighed and well balanced.
oh,
Like I'd imagine that they are playable. Like it's probably like a harder glass or whatnot.
just
It still would scare me so bad. I'd get like a special dice tray.
oh my god, it shoots. Yeah, just throw them right down the dice tower.
Oh my god, they have I'm looking at the rest of the ones they have on their site. They have one that has the Triforce for the 20.
That's pretty great.
Oh, they have a gemstone one that's only $15.
Yeah, my process for dice, for buying dice. Oh my god, that second one there for 17.29 is beautiful.
I like the purple ones, the purple fluorite.
Is that the second one?
It's on the next page.
Yeah, that's.
Or the green fluorite. Oh my god, these are beautiful. I can't spend any more money. God damn it. Anyway.
Oh shit, this one's 63.89. That's. I mean, for me to spend, I mean, I can't spend that much money on dice. That's.
Wait, why did it timer out?
It did. Oh, well, that's weird. Wait.
Try it. It shouldn't take your links down. I don't know
That's
why it
weird.
did.
What is Nightbot on a 30-second delay?
Yeah, try. Huh.
Try it now.
Okay, let me open this back up.
That's really weird.
I'm sorry that it's being dumb.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Modern. I don't stream, well.
Yeah, the hyperlinks are turned off. nothing in there. There's nothing in there.
So
We're gonna do that.
I used modify auto mod properties.
Alright, I have turned off auto mod. Nope, stop changing it.
I thought of you today, Taryn, when I stepped on a dice, and I was grateful. It was a. Hang on, I have it. It wasn't
Okay.
a 4-sided die either. It was a 10-sided die.
Shouldn't catch anything now.
Let's give it another shot.
Modern has been timed out 2 times. What the fuck?
That's so weird.
That doesn't make sense unless your bot is doing it.
But the bot is permitting her.
Those are really pretty, though. I can still see the links that you're posting.
But I can't.
Let's see what we can do.
Nightbot is a boob. Boom.
Did you fix it in Nightbot?
No, I permitted her. Maybe we weren't just catching it. That's so weird.
Because I was changing it in Twitch.
Oh, these are nice. The purple ones. Yeet. Oh, yeah. The wooden runes are they're really nice too. The fortune teller. I like how the fortune teller dice are just like they're like literally like less than $4. But then it deletes it anyway. That's so what you know what, Nightbot? I'm gonna kick you right in the dice.
Yeah, we'll have to look at your Nightbot and see if your Nightbot's thing's doing it because... Ha! Hey, look! It worked! It didn't time her out that time. Yeah, it says
No, oh,
automated by
that's so weird.
Nightbot
So
timed out Modern for 19 seconds. Reason stop posting links automated by Nightbot. So Nightbot is the one who's
night.
doing it, not
So
Twitch.
it's deleted on mobile, but not on my laptop.
Yeah, it'll do that.
Let me throw that link up there. Yeah, I'll mess with that this week.
Yeah, you have to do it through Nightbot.
I'll look at that this week. Sorry about that, Modern, but thank you for the dice links. I do like the dice. I like them a lot. What I guess so when you're looking for like a dice set or like a dice tower, a dice tray, a dice cup, essentially more accessories for your D&D collection. What do you look for something specific? And this is for everybody everybody in chat, as well as Taryn. Taryn.
When I go to buy like dice or something of the sort, I find one that I like the look of, and then I look at the price, and then I find the cheapest price I can with decent reviews, because something can look really pretty, but when you get it, it's janky as shit.
I've noticed that.
So, and there's a lot of people who will buy multiple sets of dice, like from the Wiz Dice company, break up those individual dice sets and then resell them for $6 when you can buy 20 sets of them for $15. So you got to watch out for that too.
Yeah, I like the Wiz dice. Chess X, they're okay.
SX is like the Prada of dice.
Oh really?
They are they are the fanciest original company. They have the highest rated dice. That's why they're expensive. Is that they're all tested to be balanced before shipping. You never have a problem with like the corners being missing, or generally the paint's always there and whatnot. The color mixes are balanced. They're quality dice,
Yeah,
but you're gonna pay for that quality.
I got. I think it was from Barnes and Noble. I had the option to spend. I don't know if the one that I got from them was a pound of dice, but it might have been just under a pound of dice, and it was random dice. You had, it came in a nice bag, not a nice bag, but a bag, like a baggie, and then inside that baggie was a little brown envelope of one set of dice, and that set was really nice. But then it was all random dice. It was a bunch of. They had some really nice six-sided dice that were all with all pibs on them. But there were a bunch of
Mhm.
that. That was my only complaint with the set is that it was a lot of dupes.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're buying just a random bag of dice, they literally just, if they have extras or whatnot, they put them in a bag and they sell them. They're like, well, we printed too many of these, and not enough of the other ones of this set came out to our standards, so now we have a whole bunch of these. So here, have some random shit.
and the reason I went with them and not the like it was like a plastic like jar kind of, and I think that was a pound of dice as well. The reason I didn't get that is because I already had a. There was like one set in there was similar to a set that I purchased already, and I'm glad I didn't get it because did I tell you about the set that had like couple of the paint and the numbers was like chipped away, and then one of them
Yeah,
on my 20 sided die for 13, like the one was like completely not painted at all.
which I mean, it's a really easy fix to fix paint mistakes.
Oh well, yeah,
The
but I'd rather not have to. I'd rather not spend $40 on a thing of dice and half of them look like shit.
Well, if you bought a random bag of dice, you bought the cast-offs, the ones that were basically, these aren't what we are expected. We'll throw them in this bag and we'll sell them by the pound. Versus materials made to use them. They're not meant to all be perfect.
That's
So I mean,
okay.
you got exactly what you paid for. It's just it was in the fine print what it was that you were paying for. But like if it's paint issues, very easy to fix paint issues. It's when you have bubbles you can't fix. And that's when you have a die that you can't use.
And there's a way to test your dice as well, right?
Yes. Salt water, and then you let it float, and then you poke it, and if it constantly rolls to the exact same number every time, it is imbalanced. If it rolls and does different numbers every time, then you're going to have the most fair chance. If
Hmm.
you poke it and it constantly lands on a 2, then you probably don't want to use that die in a game because it's probably going to fuck you over more times than it's not. I mean, there's a chance it'll roll over onto a 20, but if it's always up on a 2 every time that you poke it, then it's going to frustrate you so bad because it's going to go 20 and 2, 20 and 2. And it's it's gonna hurt every time.
Yeah, that you don't want. You don't want that. Let me get back to my. We kind of jumped off script there for a second or two. So why we only got like 15, 20 minutes left anyway. Why is D&D important to you?
D&D is important to me because it's another format to let my imagination run rampant, and it's a format that lets it run rampant with people I like. And if you ever sat there and daydreamed, you could make up these elaborate stories in your head, but you always know what's going to happen. Like, you are in control of it, and if something doesn't happen that you don't like, you'd be like, oh, well, let's, you know, retract that, and we'll pretend that something else happened. In D&D, you don't get to do that, but you get to learn how to make the best of a bad situation, and you get to figure that out with your friends.
Right.
So you're all writing this story together. So it's a lot of fun. It's a nice outlet. Unpredictability of the people, exactly. So you get to have this adventure that you're making up that completely distracts you from all the shit that's happening in the current world that you want to escape from, and you get to do it with your friends. It's like having a collective dream together. And sometimes you get to be like a centaur and pretend that you have horns and have two spines.
I wish I had two spines.
I don't. Imagine all the trouble sleeping.
Yeah, I already have enough trouble sleeping with my spine. Maybe just one spine that works would be great. I just want to go through some of these, backtrack a little bit. And Taryn, not your Taryn, modern. You said D&D is important to you because you like the unpredictability of people.
Modern just likes to cause chaos. And I fucking love it. I absolutely love how she plays her character. It's so much fun. And I try to create opportunities for her to be mischief, but she finds ways to be mischief even when there aren't opportunities, and I'm living for it. It's amazing. I love it.
um, I already asked. So we kind of touched on this at the beginning, but I'm gonna maybe the way I worded it was kind of different. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of what got you into D&D, why do you? And you kind of just answered this, but maybe this is a little bit more exact. But why D&D instead of like board games? Like you know why D&D? And this is for everybody. Modern, Taryn, and anybody else that wants to speak up in chat. But real quick, Modern said Taryn pretty much said how I feel about it too. You get to write a story with your friends, and that you never know who will come up with what. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd agree. I think I feel the same way about that. And it's just for me it's just a fun. It's just something fun to do.
For
You can be someone or something. Uh,
for me, why D&D and not other outlets or other games? Um, like I said earlier, D&D doesn't necessarily have an end point, and there's not always necessarily an over end goal. Like, I could write the most elaborate story as a DM with the best ending And the party might decide that their new goal in life is to rescue cats and
Huh.
have a castle and just fill it with cats. And that might be exactly what they want to do, and that's where their end game is having all the cats in the kingdom. And the story that I wrote doesn't matter anymore because it's been overwritten by the players.
What is that?
And that's what I love about D&D is the freedom to do that. There's no there are no side quests in D&D. There are only quests. And like if you play like a video game, you'll have the main story and the game's constantly going, "Hey, you should probably do this main story quest so that the world can progress." And you're over here being like, "But I've got to gather herbs for the doctor so I can get some gold." And that's the thing about D&D is that might be exactly what you want to do as your player. You're like, you know what? I want to be the town's hero. I'm going to do this until I'm bored of it, and then I'll move on to another town. And I'll become that town's hero, and I'll just be this legendary herb gatherer throughout the kingdom, and that's what I want to do. And in D&D, that's exactly what you can do. You don't have to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go fight the big bad thing in this dungeon and save the world. You'd be like, you know what, fuck this world. When the world gets set on fire, I'll just shift to another plane and I'll gather those herbs. It's the freedom of being able to do that. That even if there is an outlying problem with the world, you can be like, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm going to start a band and travel around the this realm singing and earning coin that way, and that's what I want to do. And you can. And that's what I love about it is that you can be absolutely ridiculous with little to no consequences to the actual overall gameplay.
And I think modern kind of just hint just kind of said that said that too. They said a lot of the stuff I do is just random stuff that pops into my head. For example, one of our very first sessions, I set a bunch of rats on fire. My brain likes to solve problems the fastest, most efficient way. So I don't. So I do dumb stuff like that. No idea why, when the inspiration will hit me or anything, or hit me or anyone to do something ridiculous. I can let my ADHD take over more than I normally can. Yeah, and that's
And that's what makes it fun because you can do that. You can be the ADHD rogue that's just like, you know what? You get set on fire, and you get set on fire. We're gonna run from the guards, and when the guards catch us, we're gonna set them on fire. And that's something you can do. You'll be hated in that town, but you can do it.
and that's what I kind of when we did the one off. I was like, hey, can I just like try and get this alcohol for like a much lower price? Can I like kind of like persuade the barkeep to give me a discount? And you're like, you can roll for it, and that's what I kind of what I kind of like is the your imagination is just a dice roll away.
Exactly. Like, you give me something that could be plausible, and I'll let you roll to see if it can happen.
Like,
Yes, Modern loves to whisper things that she wants to do, and I'll be like, okay, roll this for it. And then, like, they'll be like, so this happened. And they're like, when did this happen? I'm like, nobody's perception was high enough to see her do it, so it just happened. I think he did that with the apples in the room. Like, can I roll to see if I can sneak into their room and hide apples all over the place? And I'm like, yeah, sure, go for it. And you rolled like a 26 stealth, and I'm like, yeah, nobody fucking notices that you left. Nobody notices that there's apples everywhere until the next morning and there's apples everywhere. It was amazing.
um, yeah, I like I said, I've only been in really two streams or two. You know, really the one off was the most I've done. I didn't really get too far in with the campaign um, last stream. But yeah, just the pure the pure randomness of everything. You can do almost anything you want.
Yeah, like that also comes down a lot to what your DM will allow you to do. Like how much shenanigans is the DM willing to put up with? Which I love shenanigans, so I'm willing to put up with a lot. Because I think it makes the game more fun.
And that's the main thing. You want everybody to have fun. Like if you're not having fun, it's a game. It's not meant to be serious. Like if you want something serious, go read a book, go watch a documentary. Like we're all here to have fun.
Like that was my main goal when I decided that I was going to become a DM, which was my main goal was to tell a good story that intrigued my players and give my players enough room to really explore the world and to have fun in this world, because I don't think it would have been any fun if I gave them like a hardline story and they were just being whisked along with it. Like I wanted them to be able to influence the world around them. So like, deciding that they wanted to go visit Wilden, they've now influenced that story more than if they had ignored him. They ran into a group of people leaving it. And now they know that there's something going on there that they weren't aware of had they just like skipped that part entirely. And like I don't know if they realize it or not, but things are continuously happening in their absence. Like it's not like you press pause on the story and then when they come back you press play. Like things are continuously happening. Like every time they would go back to visit Wilden, they noticed that he had deteriorated more than when they had left.
If we continue south from here,
Like it's not just waiting for them to come to interact with them for something to happen. Things are happening regardless if they're there or not. And it's their choice whether they monitor what's happening or not. So I hope that intrigues them. That despite what they do, things are always going on, and that draws them into the story to find out these mysteries before it's too late, or to find out these mysteries to further that particular little plot thread, or create a plot thread in the process by whatever questions they ask. They might ask questions like, "Hey, that's a great idea. Let me scribble this down, and we'll make that into something later," without telling them like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's not available at the moment, but when you come back, we'll find out more." So
And that's what I think's neat is the fact that as a DM, you're always, thinking and creating. Like, how many steps ahead do you have to be for everything to kind of go off without a hitch?
uh so my DM style is I create maps. I try to create 5 to 10 maps ahead of where I want to be. So like whenever I think of an area, I'm like, okay, here's a bunch of maps that I can use or I can reuse because I don't have this particular area thought out completely. And I have a loose idea of what's going to happen. Like next week, I have a loose idea that you're going to visit Zeph's family because you try to visit Zeph's family before going to the tavern and meeting Claire. So I have a rough idea that they might try to visit Zeph's family. So I have a rough idea of who Zeph's family is and how they'll interact. And I have a rough idea that you guys are going to make your way to the docks and try to get a boat. So I have that much planned, but at the same time, for whatever reason, you guys could just be like, okay, we're going to go back to Meyerfell now. And I'd be like, okay, well, I've got a couple of missions there that you guys have never picked up. So, like, it's a loose idea, but I keep it as the my personal plot as loose as possible so that it can be pulled in any direction without breaking. Because I'm not just predicting the movements of one person, I'm predicting the moves of like 5 different people and then putting it to a vote and deciding, yeah, we're going to go this way or we're going to split the party and go 2 different ways.
Oh.
So I try to I make it just plausible enough that any one of these threads can happen at any time without it becoming a problem. So, yeah.
So let me ask.
Should still open the door.
Yeah.
You still
So
wanted to break into the house.
it's funny. So modern funny story. Um. So Taryn messaged me. She sent me a DM on Discord. I almost said Tinder. That would have been really weird and borderline
Yeah.
impossible. Um. That like, hey, they're going to be coming to the tavern after this. So I'm like, okay, cool, because I had been muted the whole stream. I was just sitting there, just watching and learning and taking everything in. Um, so then someone's like, oh, let's try and break into their house. And I was like, oh, I was like, if they go to their house and spend the night there, like, what what's gonna what's gonna what's gonna happen to me? And I remember Taryn being like, "Oh, like the tavern is looking like a place you guys could go to. They're still open." And Mom's like, "No, I want to try and break into this house."
Steph's like, I don't think we should break into my parents' house in the middle of the night. It's been a long time since I've seen them. I'm like, yes, thank you, Steph. Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of pushing the narrative to go to the tavern to pick up your last party member before the end of stream. So I think there was only like 30 minutes left to stream, and I'm like, you guys need to go to the fucking tavern.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
go
it was
to
getting
the tavern.
it was getting late because I looked over. I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, it is almost 11 o'clock. Kind of like how it is now.
Yeah, Zep's like, I really don't want to break into my parents' place because it's been a while since Zeph's been home, and I don't think that would be the best idea because at that point in time, through all the traveling through town and talking to Kara's family, it was pushing like 11 midnight. And in this particular world, people who come into your house at like midnight unannounced generally aren't greeted well. Like, it probably would have gotten a sledgehammer to your face. So it would have been like a full-on attack with just you inside. So it would not have ended well for you.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious how that would have gone. That would have been interesting.
It would have been bad. Um, I think Modern probably would have survived it, but it would have put a lot of strain on Zeph's relationship with his family. Like, a lot of strain. Which it's already pretty rough as it is. So, screams in Elven. Hello.
Hello there. That's a cute little emote.
So yeah, it was probably for the best that you did not break into
Yeah.
their house in the middle of the night. That, and I really wanted you guys to run into Claire and establish that relationship before the end of stream, so we didn't have to start stream with finding out a new character. Now you guys kind of have like a small rapport of your characters meeting and are off to a good, beginning. You bought them drinks, you paid for their tavern, they're kind of like, hey, this person's kind of cool. So I did push that narrative a little bit more than the other narratives of the night because I really wanted it to happen.
Hmm. Well, it's getting Claire slept with
Yes,
Kit too.
Claire
That's
slept with
right.
Kit too.
I remember that. I did. I did. Doing some prep work for an upcoming session. That's fun. We're
Good
actually
luck with that.
going to be ending soon, but I'm having a talk tonight. Well, my guest was Tairn13.
Cool.
Let's give Tairn a shout out. And if you like D&D, and if you like things, and who doesn't like things, you should definitely give her a follow. She streams D&D almost every Thursday. Myself
Playing
and
5e.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Taryn. You can answer that question.
We're playing 5e. It's I find it the simplest for beginner players. There's a lot less technical things going on in it. And D&D Beyond has a open app for it, which makes playing online even easier. So we are playing that since the game that I run is 90% new players. So that was easier for everybody to kind of just jump in feet first with versus like Pathfinder. Nice.
All right. So yeah, definitely give Taryn a follow. She she streams D&D on Thursdays, and I'm actually myself and Modern, who's also here in chat, are both a part of her campaign. I am I'm still very, very, very new and very, very, very green when it comes to D and
You're
D.
doing really well. You were
It's
doing really well.
yeah, thank you. It's I'm still nervous. I really don't know like everybody all that well. And I've never done anything like this before. Plus, trying to just figure out, like, I had a certain way. Um, I wanted to play my character in the one off, um, and now I'm still trying to kind of figure out how I want to play this character in the campaign. Um,
Yeah, you just gotta figure out who she is and what motivates her, and then make her decisions based on who she is. Like, your character's got a dark past. It's got some vengeance in there. You've lived a pretty tough life, so a lot of your decisions would probably stem from those things that happened to you. Like they molded her as a person, so just kind of run with that.
all right, everybody. Currently, my players are 4 levels deep in a 12 mega dungeon. So far, so good.
Oof. Oof, that's a big dungeon. Good luck to your players. May they die in terrible, painful ways. I mean, may they succeed and be glorious. Oh no. I have yet to send you guys on like a massive dungeon yet. Y'all did a level dungeon that had one casualty, which was the goat. The goat died.
Oh.
But pretty soon you're gonna find yourself in a legitimate dungeon. Now that I think we have all of our players, and we've had a respec. One player changed from being a druid to a cleric so that they actually have like a chance of survival. Because I didn't want to be too mean because there were no actual healers in the group, and they were poor, so they couldn't afford health potions. So I gave them mostly just like a bunch of puzzles, which was hilarious. God, I'm such an evil person. I gave them the YMCA puzzle, and it took them much longer than expected to figure it out, and it was so much fun when they did figure it out. Oh, it's glorious.
So what we're gonna do now? We're gonna go on a raid. Before I do that, I want to thank Taryn for coming on tonight. I greatly appreciate you taking time, sitting down, having a conversation with me. We will be live again on Friday for another Ryoko's Roundtable. My guest will be Taryn again, as well as Sliced Raven, her wife Zombie, and CEO of Midboss, Kate Peterson. We're going to be talking gaming in a pandemic, about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected not only the gaming industry, but gaming in general. I'm really excited about that one. I hope you guys can make it out. It'll be a little bit later next Friday. It'll be probably 10:30 Eastern time. That's in the evening. Definitely not in the morning. Yeah, if you guys liked what you have seen tonight or heard, because you're just staring at a beautiful logo and some cute GIFs, give me a follow. And if you want to join the Discord, there it is there. So come on by and do that. We're going to go on a raid. Let's do a special raid message. What do you guys think about that?
What kind of message?
Definitely nothing about the dick dice or the penis dice. Let's do this. Let's do.
Give us your dice.
So yeah, that's going to be our raid command. We are going to, if I remember how to do this, raid Sliced Raven. She's playing a shrinkage game. So yeah, that's where we're going. We're gonna go over and hang out with my. What did Taryn say? I hate this new Discord, this new Twitch thing. Like, damn it, I can't highlight anything.
Oh yeah, the respond
Yeah.
thing. It's obnoxious.
Okay, so that is Space Pirates rolling in around a sake on us. So that's what we're gonna say. That's where we're going. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Thank you, Taryn.
Thank you for having me.
And yes, no, and what scene do we want to be on? There we go. There's our ending scene. And yeah, let's go on a raid. Good night.
Bye.
Raid now. And stop streaming.